In the cosmic silence among billions of stars and galaxies, a question arises that we've never been able to fully answer. Why does the unknown in the universe scare us so much? Space is infinite, and perhaps that's the scariest part. Maybe it's the emptiness, or the idea that we might never understand it all, or perhaps what truly terrifies us is realizing how small we are compared to something so vast. But does this fear limit us, or does it challenge us? Could it be that, in fearing space, we are actually confronting the mysteries within ourselves? The fear of space is a complex feeling that goes beyond the simple fear of the unknown. It is deeply connected to the incomprehensible vastness of the universe, our fragility in the face of something so immense, and the existential questions that arise when we contemplate the cosmos. This type of fear sparks reflections about our smallness, the emptiness of space, and the possibility that we might not be as unique as we believe. To better understand this concept, I will divide the fear of space into three main aspects. Literal fear, the first and most straightforward. It's the physical and immediate fear of space itself. Imagine yourself floating in the void. No gravity, no sound, nothing to hold on to. Just you, your suit, and an endless darkness swallowing everything around you. Sounds thrilling, doesn't it? But for many, the idea of being in that scenario is pure anxiety. Space has no air, no warmth, no life. Any mistake is fatal. Maybe that's what scares us, our fragility in the face of something so immense and indifferent. The vastness is overwhelming, and the absolute silence is deafening. And it doesn't need to be a direct experience to awaken this fear. For some people, just looking at images of distant galaxies or the event horizon of a black hole is enough to make their heart race. It's the vertigo of infinity, the discomfort of trying to imagine something far beyond our understanding. But perhaps this fear also tells us something about ourselves. Could it be a sign that, deep down, we are still explorers? That despite the fear, we keep looking up and asking, what if? As we gaze at the night sky, filled with stars, a feeling that's almost inevitable arises. The philosophical fear of our smallness in the face of the cosmos. Each of those lights could be a star larger than the sun, surrounded by planets we might never know. The vastness of the cosmos makes everything we do here, our accomplishments, our problems, even our existential crises, seem irrelevant, and that can be terrifying. The thought that the universe will remain indifferent to everything we are, no matter how loudly we scream into the void. But is this insignificance really such a negative thing? Maybe the universe doesn't need to acknowledge our presence. Perhaps the true purpose lies right here, in what we do in our little corner of this vast hall. Still, it's impossible not to reflect on this. The idea that we're dust in a cosmos that keeps expanding is both paralyzing and liberating. Because if nothing matters, maybe we can choose what we want to matter. And let's be honest, sometimes the universe feels like a cosmic troll. Why create all of this? Billions of galaxies, distances we can't even imagine, just to leave us here, asking why. It's like the universe is saying, go ahead, discover, if you can. But maybe that's the lesson. We're not here to solve everything. We're here to feel, to question, and above all, to admire. Because in the end, no matter how small we are, the fact that we can look up, contemplate the cosmos, and ask these questions is already something incredibly special. The psychological fear of space is, without a doubt, the deepest and most unsettling. It's not just the infinite ahead of us that scares us, but the sensations it triggers within, the absolute emptiness, the eternal silence, the unknown that surrounds us. It's like being lost in a dark room, not knowing where the door is with no wall to lean on. You start wondering, am I even here? Or am I just in my own head? Now imagine floating in space with that silence echoing in your mind. No noise, no movement, just you and the vastness. And no matter how hard you try, you can't find a sound. There's no wind, no footsteps, not even that annoying sound of the fan. Nothing. And in the silence, the mind starts creating, asking what's happening, trying to find answers where there are none. Because silence, contrary to what many think, is far more disturbing than we imagine. And the emptiness, my friend, that's a real test. Because when there's nothing around you anymore, no noise to mask what's really happening inside of you, what do you find? What happens when you're face to face with your own loneliness, with nothing to distract or confirm your existence? What do we discover when, in the end, we're all just dust in the middle of a galaxy? And the most curious thing is that the psychological fear isn't about space itself, but about what space reveals within us. Because when we stand before the infinite, we're forced to face our own smallness. And deep down, that's what really scares us. The vastness in front of us isn't just about the universe, but about ourselves. The fear is more about what we discover when we look into the void. And suddenly, the void starts reflecting everything inside us. Who would have thought that, in the end, space could be the greatest mirror of our own mind? The fear of space goes far beyond the cosmos. In fact, it's deeply connected to other phobias that, at first glance, may seem much more down to earth. For example, claustrophobia. After all, what is space if not an immense void that can make us feel, well, trapped in an endless nowhere? And when we talk about thanatophobia, the fear of death, space confronts us with our finitude in a way that's deeply unsettling. The eternal silence, the infinite darkness, all of it reminds us that, in the grand scheme of things, we're just cosmic dust. Now, if you think you don't fear space, maybe the fear of the dark is a bit more familiar, right? Nyctophobia, fear of the dark, and the fear of space have something in common. Both deal with the vastness and the unknown, not knowing what hides in the darkness. And let's be honest, who doesn't feel a bit uneasy about the idea of an endless void with no idea if everything's under control? But here's the big twist. Maybe the fear of space is, at its core, just an excuse for confronting the deeper fears inside of us. And who knows, maybe the universe is just challenging us to look at it and ourselves with a little more courage and humor, of course. The fear of the unknown, an evolutionary reaction, is kind of like that feeling when you look into a dark cupboard and wonder, is there something in there? Over the centuries, our ancestors developed this fear to protect themselves from unknown dangers. And today, it still shows up whenever we face something beyond our control. Space, with its unexplainable vastness, triggers exactly that feeling. We can't see what's out there, and for some reason, that unsettles us. Now, when we look at the cosmos and feel like we're just a speck in an infinite ocean, an even more disturbing question arises: what is our purpose? If we're so small and the universe is so vast, what are we even doing here? This is existential angst, the feeling that perhaps our lives are just an exclamation point in the middle of an endless sentence. The thought that everything we do here might have no impact on the universe is enough to make you want to curl up in the fetal position. But is purpose really out there? Or is it here, in this tiny point in time, that we can find what truly matters? Then comes the vastness syndrome. Trying to imagine something that never ends, stretching beyond our understanding, is almost like trying to see the edge of the horizon and realizing it doesn't exist. The infinite is a terrifying thing, almost like a thought black hole where any sense of limits disappears. What is so immense can leave us paralyzed, but it can also spark an insatiable curiosity. Is the true magic in accepting the unknown and realizing that maybe it's the unknown itself that pushes us further, to discover more about ourselves and the world around us? Existential angst, fear of the unknown, and the vastness syndrome are psychological challenges, yes, but they are also doors that open us up to a new way of seeing the world. The real fear here isn't what's ahead of us, but what we choose to do with what we don't know. As we look up at the infinite universe, it's hard not to feel tiny, like a speck of dust in the vast void. And honestly, that's a bit terrifying. The universe is so vast, so mysterious, it's almost impossible not to feel small. But maybe that's exactly why we matter. Being small doesn't mean we're insignificant. If anything, it's what makes us special. Our curiosity, our questions, our constant search for meaning, these are the things that make life so thrilling. It's in the unknown that we find our purpose, even if it's just in the search itself. So next time you're overwhelmed by how vast everything is, remember this. The universe may be huge, but so are the opportunities to explore and grow. Sure, we don't have all the answers and the stars might feel out of reach, but isn't that what makes it exciting? The fear we feel about the unknown? Maybe it's not something to shy away from. Maybe it's the universe calling us to dive deeper, to explore more, to keep asking. Because the unknown isn't a barrier, it's a doorway to discovery. And if the universe is out there, quietly waiting for us, maybe our best chance of understanding it is simply to embrace the curiosity that got us to look up in the first place. So let's keep asking, keep exploring, and who knows? Maybe the answers we're searching for are just a bit further out there, or maybe they're closer than we think.